So for my ears, I just used some white felt fabric, way more than you will ever need. I just like having extra for future projects. A short to medium length fur from Fabricland, some similar colored thread and a sewing needle, and then some small fabric scissors. I find the smaller scissors easier for fur. In the felt, I just cut out a teardrop shape that is slightly lopsided. There's no specific template needed for this, as even just a general teardrop shape will give you the results you want. My ears are long, so they're about 6 inches in length and about 3 inches in width. If you wanted shorter fawn ears, just subtract on the length. When you have that rough shape, you're going to transfer it onto the fur by marking it with Sharpie. Something to always be aware of with fur is its direction. I want the fur on my ears to aim towards the tips of them, so I made sure it constantly faced that way. I even draw arrows on the back of the fur just to constantly remind myself which way it's facing. The best trick I ever learned for cutting fur is that you can cut it under the nap, so under the fur itself. By just cutting the fabric backing, you run no risk of chopping your fur on the front or having a giant mess when it comes apart. This is a little bit slower than just hacking away, but it's totally worth it. Once you have your two identical shapes, you want to lay them on top of each other so your right sides are facing in. So basically the fabric you want to see when your ears are complete need to be facing inwards for this part. I like to pin around the shape a little bit, that way when I start sewing I can't pull one side too much accidentally and end up with an uneven connection at the end. I have always been taught that for fur you use a whip stitch, and I think it gives the best results. This stitch is the most iconic. It's just constantly corkscrewing around the fur and the felt, trying to keep the thread close to itself so there are no holes in the seam line at the end. Something to also keep in mind while you move along is to push the fur down inside as you go. The fur usually tries to pop out and you don't want to accidentally catch it and make it trapped, sticking up. When you have it sewn, flip it inside out to bring the fur to the outside. Now to get that little indent that the ears have, you can literally just fold them in half and sew it. I kind of folded mine 3/4 of the way because I wanted the ears to face slightly forward when they were on my head. By folding them asymmetrically, it'll force them to aim one way instead of just down. From here, I just went back and forth with the thread to pair the sides up together and seal up the seam. I started with just anchoring the thread and then I went back to the whip stitch to complete it. When you have the ears complete, all that's left is to hot glue them to a headband. I glued them low on the band so they would sit closer to my ears and aim downwards.